With Xbox struggling to find its place in the console market while Nintendo's new console has been confirmed to be the Nintendo Switch Nosferatu 2, and Sony having mostly recovered from the losses incurred from the PS5, it's looking like Nintendo and PlayStation are about to become a duopoly in the gaming market. Prices will skyrocket, game quality will plummet, and all we can do is sulk. But I feel like we're forgetting someone. What's this? A powerful handheld with a huge library of games made by industry titan Valve? Wait, it's not only got a touchscreen but also a gyroscope, optional Hall effect joysticks, and even a trackpad allowing for mouse-like controls? That's pretty neat, but it's just a handheld. It's not like you can connect it to a TV or anything. You know, Sony used to release portable consoles at one point. They should really capitalize on this trend of hybrid consoles and release another PSP. What is that? The PlayStation Portal, huh? I like the wordplay. Okay, so apparently this PlayStation Portal released back in 2023, and I haven't really seen much coverage about it. I mean, did you know that PlayStation released another handheld? Right off the bat, the marketing of this thing has been absolutely terrible. But from what I can tell, it's essentially a portable cloud-based PS5 which runs for about $200. But just look at this thing. It's like some 2009 proof of concept. You know what? No, it actually looks like some cursed listing on Alibaba or Temu. Like honestly, who looks at this and says, oh yeah, this is legit? No, that didn't happen. Nobody did that. This design, it's just beautiful. I'm glad this was official, and I'm only partially joking when I say that. But design aside, if I would have known this existed, I definitely would have grabbed one, especially because as of November 2024, Sony actually lets you stream games directly to the system without a PS5 as long as you have a PS Plus premium subscription. Granted, I usually avoid subscription services, especially ones that I can barely pronounce, but I make exceptions here and there. I've been wanting to play Kingdom Hearts 3, Crash 4, Ratchet Rift Apart, and Astrobot, but I didn't feel like shelling out $500 just to play 4 games. And I know some of you are wondering why I don't play some of those games on Steam, but there are some games which I prefer to play on certain hardware. Sure, you can emulate old games for the best experience, but for game franchises that were originally exclusive to a specific console, I just prefer to play them on their respective systems. I mean, come on. Kingdom Hearts without PlayStation button prompts is like Mario with keyboard prompts. No thanks. But that just makes me wonder, if Sony revitalized the PlayStation Portal with a new design and a strong advertising campaign to directly compete with the other handhelds, we just might find ourselves in another console war, and I for one couldn't be any more excited for that prospect. This could get interesting. Okay, time to dunk on Xbox. Xbox's current situation reminds me of 2016 when Nintendo was struggling with the Wii U and people were proposing that they go third party to release their software on Xbox and PlayStation, akin to your Segas or Ataris. Nowadays, Xbox is in an even worse place than Nintendo was in 2016, and I've gotta say, out of the big 3 companies in the market, I'm so glad that it seems like Microsoft is the one getting the boot, even if they claim to be leaving of their own volition. This is my declaratory boot out of the industry. I'm sorry Xbox fans, but I'm being 100% serious when I say this. You guys deserve a better company than Microsoft. They've been getting accused of violating antitrust laws, raised the price of Game Pass after acquiring Activision Blizzard, which despite using phrasing that can be interpreted as an assurance that they wouldn't do that, they raised the price anyway. They were the ones who introduced paid online services to console gaming in the first place, and they've also been buying up game studios and shutting them down left and right. A side effect of these acquisitions that I'm so tired of seeing is a strategy of take a beloved franchise, change everything about it, release the game flops, and the suits who ruined the game claim no one is interested in the franchise anymore, and they lock it in the Xbox dungeon. You all do realize that Crash Bandicoot is as good as dead, right? Like all the old rare properties that they've locked in the dungeon. They released a Crash Bandicoot game on console with amazing gameplay, art direction, and soundtrack, and it was a critical and financial hit. Upon seeing the success of that game, the obvious next step was to tar and feather the franchise. Following Crash 4, they released a Crash Bandicoot game on mobile full of microtransactions and grinding progression systems, and it failed. They released a Crash Bandicoot game on console full of microtransactions and grinding progression systems, and it failed. By the way, Crash 5 was cancelled in favor of games where they consult psychologists to make them as engaging and addicting as possible, and no, I'm not joking, they actually did that. I don't think those suits who keep ruining franchises realize that people are done engaging with the video game equivalent of nicotine or high fructose corn syrup. We're not in a pandemic anymore, so people don't have time to play live services anymore. People are working more and earning less, so nobody's gonna be spending, and it's literally your own fault. Microsoft now owns the company where employees in the tech field skip meals to pay rent. How do you expect people who are paid far less to buy anything? People have nothing left to spend but time, and all that time is being occupied by jobs like those at Activision Blizzard under Microsoft, which don't pay them enough. You can tell how out of touch these companies are because they consider $10 to $15 purchases to be micro transactions, despite that amount being higher than some people's hourly wages. And you, don't even get me started with you. Mr. Update when I'm nearly finished editing a video and corrupt the file so I have to use a backup from like 2 weeks ago. Mr. Has advertisements floating on the lock screen like that Mario 64 by EA hack. Xbox's new campaign is geared towards game streaming on any device, which I'm sure is going to be a wonderful alternative to Steam's Remote Play, which is also compatible with mobile devices, not to mention that it's free. Just look at how well that's gone for Ubisoft. At this point, Xbox is just Ubisoft with a parent company, but both companies seem to be on their way out, so honestly, good riddance to both of you. Your absence will be felt, but it will not be missed. Alright, now let's talk console wars. I'm really hoping for a new generation of console wars because lately, video game companies have been getting just a little too cozy with each other. What I mean by this is that there's way too much cooperation and not enough competition. I know people got sick of the Xbox versus PlayStation debates in the 2000s and the 2010s, but in retrospect, those were actually a necessary evil. When every company is trying to constantly one-up the other, the result is that they take a lot more risk and output much better products in order to win players over to their platform. Made no more apparent than when PlayStation mocked Xbox for implementing aggressive DRM. And for those who don't know, PlayStation's response to Xbox's restrictions was an official video of how to share PS4 games where some guy just hands the game to another guy, and that's the kind of rivalry I want to see between companies again. Though a byproduct of this competition did often result in console exclusives, which many people see as a bad thing, I prefer when companies offer incentives and benefits for investing in their platforms, as opposed to said benefits being sold as a premium, Nintendo. And speaking of Nintendo, one of the biggest issues with the Nintendo Switch 2 is Nintendo leading the charge to push games past a $70 price tag, which should still be at $60 by the way. But what if Valve did a marketing push that boasted about Steam's games actually receiving discounts? Then more people would be inclined to buy a Steamdeck. And we all know about Nintendo's sorry excuse for not lowering prices, being that it'd be unfair to early adopters if the price was lowered later or some baloney like that. But that statement is conditional, and that condition is as long as another company doesn't intrude into their space. If more games like Astro Bot release and keep encroaching on their niche, Nintendo is going to have to find some incentive for players to actually purchase their games, so they'll sweeten the deal with discounts and bundles. And this is why the console wars are so important. The competition keeps these companies in check and ensures that nobody gets away with selling unfinished games or faulty hardware. And if they do, they're seriously going to feel the burn from it, not only from the community, but from other companies as well. While cross-platform games have been nice, that's the only cooperation I want to be seeing between these companies going forward. We've seen what happens to the industry when companies get too buddy-buddy with each other during the early 2020s. Really think about how the gaming industry has regressed throughout the early 2020s. Off the top of my head, and this is just mid-recording, I'm thinking of the Super Mario All-Stars Collection, GTA Definitive Edition, Animal Crossing New Horizons, all the live service shutdowns, the prices of games being hiked, the prices of consoles being hiked. Those weren't in any particular order, but those are some serious vices that may have existed before, but they've only been exacerbated this decade. No doubt due to every company just being on board with releasing half-baked, quarter-baked goods instead of holding each other accountable. It's time to go to war, people, and I'm Team Steamdeck. It offers the greatest value for what you pay, and it's the most likely to receive Switch 2 support, if you know what I mean. And contrary to what Nintendo would like you to believe, playing Nintendo Switch games on other consoles is perfectly legal. Just because Nintendo wants you to play their games on the Nintendo Juicero doesn't make it illegal to play it somewhere else. Just like Sony's not coming after you for watching a Spider-Man movie on Xbox, Nintendo can't come after you for playing a Nintendo Switch game, or any Nintendo game for that matter, on Steamdeck. Just buy your copy of the game, dump the contents of the cartridge into a readable file format, fire up your favorite Nintendo Switch emulator, and you're good to go. Before I forget, I want to circle back to PlayStation again. I'd buy a PlayStation Portal, but they need to stop pawning off their franchises so much. If they released another Ape Escape and made it exclusive, I'd definitely consider picking one up. I don't like photorealistic story-driven games, and I don't like shooty bang bang games either, yet they don't seem interested in attracting any other crowd. I'm not a financial advisor, nor is this investment advice, but if I were a Sony shareholder and saw that Nintendo was able to not only earn back their investment, but profit from releasing $60 games on a single console, I repeat, Nintendo is profitable in this economy by selling platformers at $60, and the company you're investing in isn't even trying to attract any of that crowd? I'd be jumping down Sony's throat asking, nay, interrogating them as to why they need millions of dollars to produce games which barely sell on multiple consoles instead of trying to copy Nintendo's approach, which has proven to be successful for decades. I wouldn't give Sony another cent unless they halted production on every live service and Last of Us remake this instant and brought back Spike, Jack, Ratchet, and Sly to make the next Mario Odyssey, because that's where the money is and that's where it always has been. Even if the first entries in any of those franchises don't immediately take off, don't just just stop the series dead again. You have to keep pumping them out and supporting them with funny advertisements, brand deals, menu themes, cameos, and all that good stuff. The next open world sandbox game made with leftover assets from Concord that Sony crams onto the market may actually generate some buzz if there's a vehicle from Jack and Daxter, or weapons from a new Ratchet entry, or a Sly Cooper costume. But you don't need to be so heavy-handed about it at first. Just drop little hints that you're willing to bring the franchise back and see what buzz gets generated. Hopefully I'm starting to get some gears turning. Once upon a time on TV, you'd see bumpers with various cartoon characters from different shows interacting with each other, and it was sick because you never really got to see that very much. This also applies to dead franchises because they've had the luxury of avoiding the crossover fatigue that more relevant franchises have suffered from. Crossover chastity, if you will. Why did I write that? Anyways, as long as they show some restraint with the crossovers, getting to see these characters again would be sick, but I don't think we could trust any executive to know the definition of restraint, so maybe this whole thing is a terrible idea. Before I end things off, I'd highly recommend you check out the video I posted called The Current Path of the Switch 2 to see my thoughts about Nintendo's horse in this race. Which, pause, if you're hearing this, click the iCard up there and like that video to fix the ratio at least. A bunch of people got upset at me for criticizing the name of the console and they mass disliked the video, but like, I never even said the name of the console was bad in the video. As a matter of fact, I still don't even think the name of the console is inherently bad. My stance is that once Nintendo gets comfortable enough to start marketing their console based on brand recognition, it's a symptom that the company's about to nosedive off a cliff. But if you'd like to see just how many parallels can be drawn between the Wii U and the Switch 2, then absolutely give that video a watch. Here's a preview. Further parallels include a push for more physical merchandise like the alarm clock, a few more ports from previous consoles. They also released a music app. And to nobody's surprise, here come the DMCA takedowns. All that's left now is the partnership program, and the mid-2010s Nintendo playbook will be complete. Definitely give that video a watch if that topic interests you. But for now, I want to hear your thoughts. Are you excited for a new generation of console wars? Which team will you be representing this generation? Do you have any stories about previous console wars? Feel free to leave a like and comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe to see the next post as soon as it goes live. Alright, take care.